Welcome to the Teaching Tax Flow podcast, where the goal is to empower and educate you to legally and ethically minimize taxes paid over your lifetime.
Welcome, everybody, back to the podcast, or should I say the Teaching Tax Flow podcast. We're already up to episode 12, so it's a good number. Some people, it might be their lucky number. I don't know. It might be 3, it might be 12. So Chris, actually, we got a good guest today. And before we introduce her, I know a giant problem that we've heard, I shouldn't say a problem, a challenge, right, is the importance of time tracking and material participation. Not only is it hard for people to actually do it, I can't even say it, apparently, sometimes. So Chris, why don't we go ahead and actually, I'll let you do the grand introduction. Go ahead and expose our guest.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening to the Teaching Tax Flow podcast. We always ask you for an open mind and a little bit of time. As a practicing CPA, one of the things that we get hit with on a weekly basis are in our private practice and then also within our Teaching Tax Flow ecosystem are people wondering how could they keep track of their time to prove material participation or to prove that they have real estate professional status within the IRS laws. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. What's a best practice for it? I'm really excited about this episode because real estate, and we always talk about one of the 3 laws of teaching tax flow, is that tax agencies are your involuntary business partners, and tax laws are written to encourage and discourage financial and social behavior. Real estate investing is one of those industries that is very tax advantaged. Real estate investing hits on many of our teaching tax flow diagnoses. Definitely hits on our red diagnosis for people that need an immediate tax deduction, our purple diagnosis, tax deferral, and my favorite, John, gold diagnosis, tax-free income and growth. And to take advantage of some of these tax strategies that we teach, so we've got the diagnosis and those strategies like bonus depreciation, cost segregation study, building a rental portfolio, making the rental enterprise qualified business income deduction. To be able to have those tools or to be able to have those strategies, you need a tool. And that tool is keeping track of your time as a real estate investor or business owner. So think about, we're a big baseball family here. And if you're going to go up to bat or to the plate, you need a bat. And I look at keeping track of your time as that bat. So when we get the question, how do you keep track of your time? That posed a problem as a CPA for me for many years until I met our special guest. Kirsten Limmer is with us from REPStracker. I'm really excited to have her. We're going to try to be quiet and let her speak so that our Teaching Tax Flow listeners learn a lot more.
We just get excited.
They're sick of us. I know. And they put up with us for the first 11 episodes. But she is extremely intelligent. She's a physician who got her medical degree and PhD in molecular biology from University of California in San Diego. And then went to Harvard Medical School. I can't believe she's actually going to talk to us.
Well, this is great. We're interviewing smarter people. Right. Isn't that one of the laws of life?
Exactly. You always want to be the dumbest in the room, which is usually easy for me. But that wasn't enough, right? We always want overachievers. She's an avid real estate investor. She uses short-term rentals, long-term rentals, or STR, LTR in our verbiage, and founder and creator of REPStracker. Kirsten, can you tell us a little bit about REPStracker? And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Yes, absolutely. So REPStracker, I created, just as you said, I am a real estate investor myself. And back in 2020, I was kind of looking ahead at the year to come, 2021. And as we all know, in 2020, there was a lot of shifts that happened in life. So for my shift, my clinical time in the hospital went down significantly. And so at the same time, I started ramping up my real estate empire. And so I knew that in 2021, I was going to be in a really good position to claim reps. And I also have my husband is also a physician. So that, kind of positioned us well for reps. And in 2020, I started looking and looking to see how I could log those hours, because especially having a physician background, we're very risk averse, I guess you should say, and love to document everything. So, one of the sayings in the hospital is like, if you didn't chart it, it didn't happen. So just
sounds like the IRS.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of similarities right there.
There really is. Yeah. So, I was really, before I even wanted to embark on reps, I wanted to have a good system in place to log my hours. And I looked and I thought there's got to be an app for that. And I looked high and low. I could not find anything that was made for real estate investors. There was plenty of apps that you could kind of tailor if you wanted to, and it was an imperfect system. So I'm a little bit of an entrepreneur, or I guess maybe I should say a lot of an entrepreneur. And when I discovered that there was such a huge gap in the market, that's when I like to say, oh, maybe I can be the one to fill that gap. So I started looking for people to create the app for me. And I realized it was going to take a really long time. It was going to take a lot of money. And I just decided to teach myself to create an app. So I ended up creating the app myself. I ended up bringing on technical people later on after the launch. But for the initial beta launch, it was all me. And it was just a lot of trial and error, a lot of talking to real estate investors, figuring out what they needed, what kind of categories they were often using to log their hours. And I continue to troubleshoot in that sense and refine the app based on the feedback of my users. And now I have quite a lot of users, but every time that a user emails me, I put it into a log on a long-term to-do list or a short-term to-do list. And I really try to mold the app based upon what my users need.
Would it be a safe assumption to say that V1 of this app was a spreadsheet?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In fact, I just archived my spreadsheet yesterday. That's funny that you say that.
Random guess, but I just assumed that. So
yes, absolutely.
Well, I love the app. I use it personally. I started using it in 2022 here. And now we're into 23 as well. It's funny because they mentioned that your husband's a physician. One of these days, after we get Teaching Tax Flow grown out, I guess, but I was thinking I'm going to create a new dating app. And the dating app's going to be for people looking for a mate. And if you're a rep status, you are very attractive to that high income W-2 earner, because we know, and at least if you are part of the Teaching Tax Flow system, so there's some great planning for rep status people to go marry high W-2 earners for several reasons, of course.
I'm afraid to ask what you would title that app. Actually,
I don't know. Maybe it's one of our strategies is hunting pigs, which would be a terrible name because we call it passive income generators. So probably not hunting pigs, but it is a great marriage. And that you bring up an amazing point. When just talking through that is if you do have a spouse that is a real estate professional status and you file jointly, then by default, you are real estate professional status. And there are a lot of tax advantages for that. So it's quite there's also, the app also features keeping track from what's called material participation. I love the categories. You could sort things by category, by property. It exports into Excel. So John, for all the old school people, if they want to end back up Excel anyway, it's there.
And actually, before we get too far ahead, for those that don't know what it means, what's your definition of material participation?
Oh boy, that's another episode. I know you love that. So material participation, there are several tests for material participation that the IRS came out with. And to be able to deduct any type of losses from rental activities, you either have to be rep status with material participation, or you have to fit what's the short-term rental loophole and have material participation. So this is, and I'm glad you asked that, because we definitely have a mini lesson on teaching tax flow for this. But there are several tests for material participation. The most common test you're going to find when you're talking about short-term rental properties is what's called the 100-hour rule. So you're putting at least 100 hours into that activity, and no one else has more time into it than you do. So that's the short-term rental property lowest hanging fruit material participation test, but there are several tests.
And then Kirsten, too, a question for you on the app, kind of the structure, the layout, the features of it. So I know a challenge, and I'm trying to get out of my spreadsheet mind. I think, as we call them, sheets, literally in there. What if there is a husband and wife, partners in any sense, and they do want to track all their time spent, say between multiple properties, multiple individuals? How are you guys set up for that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So on the short-term rental side, so actually on both sides, what we have, so I should back up. In REPStracker, we have two sides of the app. The first one is the short-term rental side, which is the material participation in short-term rentals. And the other side, which I had already talked about, was the REPS side. So we had started this feature on the short-term rental side, in which somebody can log their own hours and then also have a spouse that can log in using the same user credentials, but end up logging their hours, and that's more for their organization, and so that when you export it, you can see who logged which hours. And in the short-term rental side, those hours are cumulative. And so they add to the total material participation hours on the short-term rental side, but you can filter them out so that you can see both sides. On the long-term rental side, Chris, you may want to go. This may be going into the weeds a little bit. Sure. Not quite cumulative, but we've also added a spouse in there who can participate in the material participation portion of REPS. But then we have a somewhat complicated algorithm that still maintains that the primary user gets 750 hours. So the way that our algorithm is set up is not to mislead people in thinking that they have too many REPS hours if their spouse, let's say, is the one logging all of the hours. So that may be a little bit too much detail for you, but suffice to say that both sides, the spouse can log their hours as well.
And I have to say that the app is very user-friendly. You can toggle between LTR and STR very easily. The other thing is the keeping track of the hours. Like I said, that just gives you a tool in your toolbox to potentially make tax elections that we're going to talk about in future episodes, just to kind of sprinkle some stuff, such as that a rental grouping election or that rental real estate enterprise election if you happen to have profit and you're looking to have a qualified business income deduction. I have a question. What feature have you developed that you had no idea was going to be really wanted when you launched?
Oh, yeah. So actually the entire side of the short-term rental side, so the ability to be able to toggle over there, was all requested by users. That was a request that I got over and over again. And for a while, now I can't remember, it was several months, maybe it was even an entire year. I was directing users to use the rep side and just kind of, tailor it to their own needs as a short-term rental material participation person. But then, it that did go against my mantra being like, let's not have people try to fit a square peg into a round hole or vice versa. Mm-hmm. Let's really try to make this as efficient as possible for everybody and really suit that particular need that they have. And so finally, I got so many requests that I thought, okay, well, there really is a need for this. And so I created an entirely new side so that the toggle over to the short-term rental material participation.
Well, that is an amazing feature. I enjoy it. The other thing that I think it's important for listeners to understand is that within the software, there's a actual clock. So you can, instead of it'll log you for you. It'll log the time for you if you set the clock and stop the clock. And again, it's really, you've really helped solve a challenge out there. But what do they say, that pretty much necessity breeds all good inventions? And
But what's next for the app?
Yeah.
What's next on the list? I love just putting people on the spot. So the more random questions I can ask, I funnel them in. But where do you guys see things going? I mean, you've tackled the short-term and the long-term side.
Yeah.
Really, and this, I guess, would be kind of a question for both of you. I mean, maybe what's on y'all's list from the development standpoint, but then even from the tax planning side. I mean, is there anything?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And so, in terms of the app itself, I'm lots of little features and stuff that users have requested. I do think one thing that is an area that we need to tackle is often users will ask for guidance in the accounting side. So more, it's probably not a day goes by where a user does not email me to ask me questions that they probably should be asking their own CPA, actually. And so building an education piece into the app has been on my radar, or building not even necessarily intrinsic into the app, but perhaps, leading to a course like you guys have or something like that, a kind of a straight shot for users to be able to get those questions answered by a CPA. So because I am not a CPA, I created the app with the guidance of CPAs, but I am not a CPA myself. So I always tell people, I don't want to answer their specific accounting questions, but I would love to be able to very easily direct them to somebody who can.
Well, that is a great segue, because I think the collaboration between REPStracker and the tax professional community is very important. That's why we jumped on the opportunity to be a part of the REPStracker ecosystem. And I would encourage other CPAs and the ones that, and tax professionals, the ones that I'm coaching, I'm going to very highly recommend that they become a part of this ecosystem. It is, I think that's really the ability to export, like I said, export those reports is huge for tax preparation and for us as tax professionals. And obviously, we're very real estate focused in our private practice, but just the material participation is a test you have to pass to take any type of business loss. It doesn't have to be real estate. So it's been great. And that's going to segue into the last thing I want to mention is that we have a very special offer for the listeners of Teaching Tax Flow that we're going to post in the show notes and get out to everyone. The cool thing about this offer, it was originally put together for only the clients in our private CPA practice, but with a little coaxing. Kirsten was nice enough to allow everyone within the Teaching Tax Flow ecosystem the ability to start using the software and the app with a special discount, and we're going to get that out to everyone.
We'll put the excuse me. We'll put the URL in the show notes, Chris, as you mentioned. But what is the code actually for that? Was it IFG?
Yes, it's IFG, which is our private practice again. But
okay. But the link we'll actually have in the show. So you can click in the notes, follow that, use that special code in there, sign up for REPStracker. Before we skip off of though, Chris, as much as I harass you about the acronyms after your name, you are missing one. You do know that, right?
What?
And she hasn't and you don't. The PhD. Why don't you have everything else?
I know.
Like, what, you slacker?
I am a slacker. Well, I will say, one more thing. We will have an instructional video available in the show notes to sign up as a walkthrough into the software. Yes, PhD. I believe it or not. Well, it was about a year ago.
I knew there was a story.
No, I went. My wife and I went out to a wine bar in gorgeous Franklin, Tennessee, and after that visit, I decided to come home and put an inquiry into a PhD program, thinking, "Gosh, I love education, but what level can I get to?" And then I realized, no, it's time to give right now. Maybe one day I'll go back, but it's time to help educate everyone about tax planning and strategy. And I really look up to people that take things to the highest level possible. So very impressive.
Excellent. Well, Kirsten, is there anything else? Kirsten, is there anything else you want to add to the show? I mean, is there anything, again, that may be on the horizon here for REPStracker. I know one big thing is that I can't stress enough is how easy it is to use. I mean, the user interface is extremely simple, extremely straight to the point, which obviously it's time tracking is never a joy, I think, of a lot of people. So the easier you can make it, the better. So anything else you'd want to let everybody know here?
I think you guys covered a lot of it, but if you are interested in trying a new way to log your hours, you can sign up for a free trial in REPStracker, and it's no risk. Cancel anytime during the trial period, and just come join us. See if you like it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we really appreciate it. I'm so excited that you're on our show.
Thank you. It was great. Thank you so much.
We look forward to it. All right, everybody. Well, thank you again for joining in. Again, we will drop the affiliate link in the show notes that you can click through on that. We'll also make a post when we do post a show on social media, so you can click on that as well with that offer code in there. Any questions at all, obviously reach out to the REPStracker team or ourselves. We'd be happy to guide you in the right place.
Yeah, happy tax planning, happy investing.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week.